I'm Terry Shepard. Being a confident podcast guest is a skill that can be learned. And that's why I wrote How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. It's a sweet and short primer that teaches you about the gear, the appearance, and the messaging that can grab and hold today's micro attention spans and motivate your listeners to take action. How to Become a Dynamic Podcast Guest and Sell Stuff. The digital version is just $1.99 at Amazon. Grab your copy today and sell more books tomorrow.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Today, we welcome an author whose life journey spans continents, industries, and tens of thousands of miles on two wheels. Michael Yang arrived in the United States as a teenager from South Korea, built a remarkable career in Silicon Valley, and went on to found and sell a successful technology company. Yet, success in business was only part of his story. In midlife, he felt the pull of something deeper and returned to a passion he first discovered as a young immigrant finding his place in a new country: motorcycling. That decision launched him on an extraordinary journey across North and South America, from the Arctic Ocean to Newfoundland, and down through Patagonia to the southern tip of Argentina. Along the way, the miles became more than travel. They became reflection, rediscovery, and renewal. The book is Coming Alive on the Ride, and our special guest is Michael Yang. Michael, welcome.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
What made you want to write the book?
I want to share the story of my life growing up in Korea, coming to America as a new immigrant, and then going through a lot of ups and downs and failures and successes in Silicon Valley, selling my tech startup for $700 million. And then in my midlife, around 47, I had this itch to ride motorcycle again, something that I started doing when I was a 15-year-old out-of-place teenager when I came to Silicon Valley. And I just started riding close, like nearby. And before I knew it, I was riding farther. And that curiosity to find out what's on the other side of the mountain, outside of the city, or across the state, got me to ride from LA to Newfoundland, Canada, and then to Alaska, and then down to South America. And it was amazing experience traveling to these amazing places. And I was writing up my travel post on Facebook, and I had thousands of people follow along on my journey. And many of them suggested that I write a book because I had such a fascinating story as a immigrant entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, and then going on these crazy long motorcycle trips. So I decided to write the book to share my story.
For many boys, that first motorcycle is like our first love. What was the bike that you first bought?
Oh, yeah. When I was living in San Jose, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area back in 1976, I was a 15-year-old new immigrant, teenager. And there were a bunch of motorcycle riders around the neighborhood. So they were riding these little tiny mini bikes that was built using lawnmower engines. Some were riding like 100cc Yamaha enduro bikes that you could ride on the dirt. So my first bike was a used green Yamaha 100cc enduro bike that I paid $200 back in 1976. And I just had so much fun with that motorcycle, and I just fell in love with it.
How did you get from that 15-year-old kid to a guy who sold his startup for over $700 million?
That's a good question. As I was riding my motorcycle across the Rocky Mountains in Colorado a few years ago on my way from LA to Newfoundland, I was feeling so happy and so overjoyed. I said, how did I get so lucky? How did I become so blessed to be able to enjoy this amazing nature, amazing fun and adventure of riding motorcycle across America? And I realized that my upbringing in Korea, Korea was a very poor country back then, right after the Korean War. There were not many resources available. So I remember being hungry and going through all these experiences, but it made me strong because I had to be resilient to live through in that tough, harsh environment. And then coming to America at 14 years old, and I didn't speak any English, so I had to learn and had to adapt. And it was all hard, but I think all of these experiences helped me overcome some of the challenges and struggles of life. I've been laid off from my jobs before. I was pushed out of my company that I was running. But then I didn't give up and I kept on going. And in 1998, I had a chance to start an internet startup in the price comparison shopping service called MySimon.com. And we raised a bunch of venture capital investment and hired some great people. And we're growing we were growing so fast that when we were getting ready to do an IPO on the NASDAQ stock market, a larger company called CNET came along and wanted to acquire us. And so after some negotiation, we ended up selling the company for $700 million during the first internet boom in 2000. So that was an amazing experience.
Are there parallels between the ups and downs of your professional life and that long trip that you took?
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the things that I realized. When I go on these long motorcycle trips, I have some mechanical problems. My shifter was falling off. My windshield broke off when my bike fell over. I had all kinds of different challenges, like it was pouring rain and there was a thunderstorm going by. And it reminded me of all the difficulties that I faced as an immigrant and all the failures and struggles that I experienced as a engineer in Silicon Valley and then working for different companies in marketing and sales and then starting my own company and getting pushed out of my own company that I founded as a CEO. So all of these experiences were directly comparable. So the struggles in life were similar to struggles I had on these long motorcycle trips.
You've written about perseverance, humility, and gratitude. Which lesson did the road teach you most strongly?
So I think preparing well is a very important thing to succeed in life and succeed in long motorcycle trips. So in my case, I did my best to study as hard as I can while learning a new language. I went to college, got my degree in electrical engineering and computer science, and later got my MBA degree in business. And I have worked in the tech industry for 10, 15 years before I started my own company. Now, when I go on these long motorcycle trips, I would spend as long as 6 months or 3 months to research the places that I'm going to be riding to and plan my trip and figure out what I need to pack, what I need to bring, where I'm going to stay, what is the weather like, what is the terrain where I'm going to be riding through. And so through all those research and planning and preparation, both in life as well as in motorcycle journey, I was able to complete my journey successfully and succeed in business.
If you could distill that formula down to something that would apply both to those of us who always have dreamt of doing a startup and have always dreamt to take out our motorcycles on the road and just head out, what would that common thing be?
I think that sense of curiosity and the sense of wanting to take on adventure is incredibly important. But a lot of times we don't pursue that adventure because of fear, right? Fear of whatever it might be. And so I think dealing with that fear is one of the most important things to overcome them and then take on the adventure. And then you will discover yourself. You will find a lot more meaning and sense of identity in your life. So
how do you cope with setbacks and failure?
In my case, my faith in God was very foundational. I didn't go to church when I was growing up in Korea, but my family and I started attending a Christian church, a Korean Baptist church in San Jose. And initially, I had a lot of questions and doubts about the Bible and all the things that the Bible said that Jesus Christ did. But over time, I came to accept the Bible and my faith started to grow. And so I think my faith has been incredibly important to go on, even though I had some failures and disappointments in life, because I always believed that God had a better plan for me. When God closes one door, He will open another, and that's even better. And in writing this book, I realized in looking back, what I thought was a failure turned out to be a blessing, because of that failure or because of that layoff or getting pushed out of my company, I was able to pursue something different that ended up being a lot more exciting and meaningful and valuable.
Our special guest is Michael Yang. We're talking about his brand new book, Coming Alive on the Ride. Did you find yourself changing as the miles accumulated on that long ride?
Yes. One of the things that was really pivotal in my experience was that before I went on these long motorcycle trips, I saw myself as an entrepreneur or a businessman. But during my motorcycle travel, I realized that I'm more of an adventurer or explorer because I love going into new things, doing new things or going to new places. That is, there's a certain amount of mystery or unknown. And so I don't mind taking on those challenges. And the more I think about it, I realize that I'm more of an adventurer and I love just adventuring, whether it's simple thrill of driving a four drive into a snow-covered road that's slippery or dirt road or sandy road. You could get stuck. Or going on long motorcycle trips across the continent and discovering all these amazing nature, amazing people, and amazing places that you wouldn't have otherwise enjoyed if you didn't make that adventure trip.
What were some of the experiences that most surprised you about the people and places you visited?
That there are people who are incredibly generous and nice, kind, and they're there to help you in times of need. And for example, when I was riding from LA to Newfoundland, I had to ride through Minneapolis, Minnesota on the way to Niagara Falls. And one of the motorcycle riders who followed me on my trip on Facebook invited me to stay, seeing that I was riding through that area and I've been riding 5 days straight. So he figured that I'm tired, I could use a rest. So he opened up his house and invited me and actually took me on a boat ride across the lake to treat me to nice lunch. And he and his wife were incredibly friendly and nice and generous with their time and with their money to treat me so that I would get a full rest before continuing on my journey. That's just one of the examples. And so many people helped me with my trip in terms of figuring out which route to take and what places to check out or where to eat even, because there are some nice eating places that you don't know about, but the locals do know about it. Yeah, so just running into these very nice people, they're helpful and kind. And that's one good thing about the travels, because you find these angels and you appreciate the humanity as a result of that.
What did it feel like to have so many people following your journey on social media?
Oh, it was incredibly exciting and rewarding. I never got such positive comments. They were thanking me for sharing my trip. They loved watching my photos and videos that I was uploading. They were cheering me on because these trips could go on for 40 days long. And so I would get tired or I would be hurting somewhere. And I just love the support and the appreciation that I was getting. Some people said, I'm living vicariously through your travel because I love to do what you do, but I cannot do the travel because of whatever the reason. But he's enjoying this travel through my travel posts on Facebook that I share into different Facebook groups. So it made me feel like I am doing something that's useful, which is a great feeling, and that I'm doing something special because not many people could do these types of long distance motorcycle travels.
I'm thinking about your passage through South America to get to the Patagonia. Were there any moments where you felt nervous about all of this?
So during my trip to South America, I had because my wife and I have four children and 2 of them are still at home because they're going to high school, I had to compromise and go on a 30-day trip. And rather than a 3-month trip, if I had ridden from LA all the way down through Central America and South America. So what I did is I flew from LA to Santiago, Chile. And then from there, I rented a motorcycle and then rode all the way down to the southern tip of South America at Ushuaia, Argentina. So it was going back and forth between Chile and Argentina across the Andes Mountains, which is amazingly beautiful mountain range down there. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I just heard that the terrain is pretty treacherous because it's all gravel road, and the wind in Patagonia, I heard, are like ferocious. They're like 80 miles per hour wind that's blowing sideways. So you hear about people getting hurt or even sometimes getting killed. So I was worried about the sort of the terrain and the weather. But fortunately, when we got there, the weather wasn't as bad as it could have been. Then people were very nice, and it was not dangerous in any way. And yeah, I was very relieved that I didn't have any problems crossing the border between Chile and Argentina and back all the way down to Ushuaia.
You've had success in a number of different enterprises. How do you define that word today?
I'm very thankful that I am blessed beyond any measure for an immigrant who came to this country not knowing any language and we didn't have any money. All I did was I really focused on my education, because education is a very important value in a Korean culture to get ahead in life. And I worked as hard as I could, whether it was working at a 7-Eleven store as a part-time clerk, working there during high school, or even during college, and just doing my best to try to prepare myself, working as hard as I can. And I think that God blessed me, and so I'm very grateful. And I think also I was very positive about life in general. I was very excited about the opportunities that America offers. I'm incredibly grateful to America for giving me that opportunity and achieving that American dream.
What advice would you give to somebody who feels stuck but senses they need a new adventure or direction?
That's a great place to be, because I think we come to a point in our life asking, is this all there is to life? They're feeling like you're stuck. I think that's your body telling you that you want to do something that's fun, that's more adventurous. And so I think that person should step out of their comfort zone and try something adventurous. Try something that involves element of fear, but instead of giving up because of the fear, deal with it, wrestle with it, do the research and plan and pursue that adventure so that you could have fun doing it. And there's a saying that self-care is not selfish. And I really believe that. Because when you feel stuck, your body's saying, I need some fun. I need some care for myself. So you got to do something that you enjoy, that you could have fun. So in Korea, there is a word called shin-na-geh. Shin-na-geh is a state of emotion where you're fully alive, fully joyful, excited, enthusiastic. So much fun that you lose a sense of time. And so do something that makes you feel shin-na-geh, right? Makes you feel excited to do, because when you feel stuck and you feel like you're in a midlife crisis, that's the time that you need to answer that call to do something fun for yourself.
Michael Yang is our special guest. We're talking about his fascinating book, Coming Alive on the Ride. His website is michaelyang.com. After writing this memoir, do you see your past journeys differently?
Yes. One of the things that I learned while I was writing the book, and even after finishing the book, is that not only finding my identity, true identity as an adventurer, I found a purpose in my life as someone who should encourage, motivate, and inspire others to step out of their comfort zone and embrace the adventure. Do something fun and exciting, because by doing that, you'll find better about yourself. You'll find more about yourself and true identity, as well as better sense of purpose for your life based on that experience.
Many of the people that I've interviewed who have had great business and financial success tell me that it is a lot easier climbing that mountain than it is to achieve the summit. How did you feel when you had that big payday?
It was unbelievable. It was hard to believe that such thing could happen, and only in America can this happen. And again, I'm very thankful for America that provided the opportunity. We have amazing rule of law, the financial markets, the technological innovation in Silicon Valley. And I was in the right place at the right time. And to start my company in 1998, when internet was just like taking off, like how AI is today. So I felt incredibly lucky. And I felt when I made it that there is some purpose in this blessing. And so a friend of mine told me that to whom much is given, much is expected. It's a Christian motto. And I felt a sense of duty and responsibility to try to give back through whatever means that I can. And I think my sharing of my story through my book is one element of that. Just wanting to share my experience of some of the realizations and wisdom that I gained through my reflections.
What's next?
I am planning the next long trip to go to Europe, Northern Europe this summer. In June, I'm flying to Germany, start from Heidelberg, Germany, right all the way up to Denmark, to Sweden, Norway, and go all the way to the Nordkap, which is the northernmost point of Northern Europe. And then ride down along the Finland-Russia border, down through Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, visit Poland. I'll ride through Ukraine. I don't think I could enter there right now. And come back to Germany and then fly back. So that's about a 40-day trip that I'm planning. I'm looking forward to checking out the Viking culture, the Sami people culture, as well as the military tension that's being built in that region of the world. And I just love that excitement of being there and checking things out, talking to people and learning about how people live over there. And then I would love to share my experience by speaking at different organizations, any events that I could get invited to speak. I would love to do that. And I just want to continue to share my story and encourage people to step out of their comfort zone and embrace adventure, because I truly believe that is one of the best things that a person could do.
You have said that martial arts plays an important role in your life story. How so?
I got a black belt in Taekwondo from Korea because my father, he came to America first, 2 years before my mother and I came. And so he wrote me a postcard saying, you should learn Taekwondo and get a black belt because kids in America are pretty big. And so he didn't want me to get pushed around. So he wanted me to learn the martial arts so I could defend myself. And so I did. And when I came to America, I continued to practice Taekwondo. Now, in high school, I played in a soccer team. And during one of the soccer practices, one of the bigger players, he was from Yugoslavia, much bigger than me. We had a little run-in during the practice, and he pushed me really hard. And I felt like I needed to defend myself to keep my dignity. I didn't want to be pushed around. And so I had to use my Taekwondo for the first time and did a sliding hook kick. And my foot landed right on his face and his nose and broke his nose. And I was able to defend myself. And after that, other students looked at me differently, that, oh, Min knows something he knows how to defend himself. So I regained a sense of respect and dignity among my friends. And that was an important experience for me to maintain my self-confidence and self-respect in this new setting where I was a new kid from Korea who didn't speak English and he was small. And so anyway, that was an interesting experience that I share, just to encourage people to stand tall and be able and practice to defend yourself if you're pushed into some situation.
Were there parallel skills that you used in business to maintain your dignity and your position of power?
Yeah. So one of the things that you learn in Taekwondo is having a strong sense of respect, self-control, and being aware of your situation and your surroundings so that you could make good, rational decision. And I think that Taekwondo training helped me keep my composure even when things were incredibly stressful or difficult or uncomfortable. It made me keep calm and not get overly emotional. And even during my motorcycle travels, I think my practice in Taekwondo gave me that confidence in being able to handle myself even in a new environment where there might be some bad actors or threats. So that having that self-confidence and being level-headed, even when things are a little bit uncomfortable or potentially dangerous or threatening.
The book is Coming Alive on the Ride. It was written by our special guest, Michael Yang. His website is michaelyang.com, and it's available wherever cool books are sold. Michael, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for the visit.
Thank you so much, Terry. I really enjoyed the conversation.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.